Hey everybody, this is Mike with the One Stop Co-op Shop, and today I'm reviewing Arydia, The Paths We Dare Tread, a cooperative adventure game for 1 to 4 players. And disclaimer that I got a review copy of this one. In Arydia, your characters are exiles from their homeland trying to earn enough squills by performing good deeds to be allowed back home. You travel over an overland map, zooming in to walk around locations you find, talk to NPCs, examine special events, and engage in dice-based combat against enemies when they emerge. And of course, you'll be leveling up your character, earning new equipment, learning new skills. So let's discuss 5 key things to know about Arydia. So first, my number 5 point is the organization and the components of the game. And this is a pro with the caveat that the game costs over $200, so you are paying for the nice stuff you're getting here. But yeah, the organization here is some of the nicest, most well thought out I've ever seen. You've got these figure boxes that are basically like an advent calendar, and inside you get fully painted enemies. Pretty amazing. They've got several 7th Continent style boxes that organize all the cards of different types. And similarly, they have ways to organize all of the different size tiles you'll explore. And then the world map has this awesome system, I think it's triple layered, where you're flipping tiles over as you learn and explore the land. And you've got the beautiful double layered boards for the heroes. You've got boxes to hold all of your stuff. It's amazing for anyone who loves well put together, well organized games and doesn't mind paying extra for it. My number 4 point is a bit of a mix, and that's the enemy activation in the game when you're in combat. Before every hero's turn, you'll flip a card from this threat deck. Some of them will increase this threat track. Others will activate mobs or bosses or different types of enemies in the combat. And the enemies activate based on how much threat they have available to spend, so you can tell how far they might move, which kind of attacks they might do, and even where those attacks are most likely to hit on your little ragdoll figure. All of that works well. It's pretty straightforward. You have a mix of predictability and randomness to keep things exciting. But the potential negatives that bring this down to a mix for me, first of all, when you're playing in higher player count games, especially 4 players, you have to wait for a lot of enemy turns before you get the chance to do anything. That can be a little bit dull. And then on the other side, when you're playing true solo with only 1 hero, it's sometimes against some enemies a little bit too easy to kite away from them or wait for them to come to you. So I think the balance is best with 2 to 3 characters. And also, while it isn't too bad and there are skills to mitigate it, the luck of which cards you draw and the luck of where enemies hit you can sometimes swing battles one way or another. But still a pretty cool system, and it's quick and fun to resolve. My number 3 point is also a mix for my taste, and that's the different classes and characters and how they level up. There are 6 different paths or classes, and they each have their own different tools, their own different upgrade paths, and all of this works great. I especially like the idea of mastery in the game. When you get a skill, you have to complete some challenge or do something special to actually unlock it and use it, and often you get to use it immediately when you do so. It's a fun thematic representation of training your character in their skills. And digging in these treasure chests, which get more impressive in their contents as you get later in the campaign, is always fun. But generally speaking, the vast majority of items you'll get just increase the basic stats. Like your armor will block a little bit more damage, your sword will hit in a slightly wider swath or can break armor. So especially mid to late game, once you've unlocked a lot of skills and kind of filled up your tree, there isn't that much exciting or new to see, unless you switch paths and try out another character, which I will note is very easy to do. It's very easy to drop in a character and add another one. So if you get bored with one path, you can switch to another one, and that kind of livens things up again, because again, the classes are pretty different. But we're back to combat for my number 2, and this is a pro. I'm focusing on what the heroes are doing on their turns. So you get to take 3 actions, a minor action that can move you or use potions or switch out your weapons, and then 2 main actions for attacking or using skills. But something I really enjoy are all the different resources you're managing while you're playing. You have magic points, stamina skill points, your health, of course, but then also a lot of your skills and abilities and items will have uses on them, like throwing a spear here. And many of these things don't recharge until you go back to a camp or town, so you're really having to husband your resources through potentially multiple fights. Really cool stuff. I also love the directional aspect to combat. So you are rolling a d20 die, although it's pretty forgiving. Anything except a 1 will at least do some damage. But depending on what skill or item you use, you're hitting from different directions, and if you move over certain spots, you get crits that give you free bonus damage. Now, I'll note, like with my last point, if you keep on playing the same class over and over, you're going to kind of get used to the ways they attack and the directions they can use, but especially when you're playing multiplayer or as you unlock more skills, the placement and directional puzzle of how to take out enemies efficiently becomes really fun. So I like the combat system overall, although again, it does have d20s if you are luck averse. But my number 1 point for the game is actually not the combat, even though that's by far the biggest mechanical focus of the game, but on the exploration and questing, and this is also a pro for my taste. And one of the things I like best here is that this is a questing game that respects your time. Yes, you'll sometimes be backtracking and such, but it's always fun to uncover new places, to explore new things, to talk to the NPCs, learn their stories, complete quests for them. And these quest lines can be amazing. Now, I do want to note that this is not a game that is about one linear story. So if you're coming here to play a kind of cohesive narrative, that's not the game's strength. There's more like Sleeping Gods or Lands of Galzir, where side quests are the main focus, but they go to really cool places. They have some wild things happen. And there's a lot of memory in the cards of the game because some get banished, but others switch to different types. Like one location you visited might change to another version of that location later. So even though the game focuses on side quests, there's a lot of cohesion. You feel like you're part of a living, breathing world, and just going around and exploring it is awesome, especially if you play the game as the designer intended and treat it sort of like an RPG, where one player acts out and reads the text of the NPCs, while other players respond and try to get to these different conversation topics without knowing exactly what they are. But if your group doesn't want to do that, or if you're playing the game solo, you're left just reading stuff, and it's not nearly as immersive or exciting, but it still gets the job done and tells the fun stories. Also, just a final note, and this is fairly typical of these kinds of games, but once you've played through an entire section of the world, there aren't that many branching choices, so on repeat plays, you'll see a lot of the same story and exploration elements. So overall, I was pretty blown away by Arydia. It is one of the most beautiful productions I have ever seen in a game. It has great exploration, really fun stories to explore, and the combat is a lot of fun. But you might want to avoid this one if you don't want to play a big campaign, if you don't want to spend a ton, if you want more mechanical nuance outside of combat, because it's pretty much just moving around and rolling dice, or if you want a more replayable experience with a branching campaign. Here you're going to see a lot of things on your first play if you're thorough in your exploration. And if you want to see a bit of the game with minimal spoilers, I posted a playthrough a few weeks back. Thanks for watching, everybody. Good gaming, and I'll see you at the next stop.